Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
In our latest 12-team $200 cap auction mock draft that we have here, we've broken it down in quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We've broken down which players were selected, and we do have a few players that we've chosen that weren't selected just to keep in mind. In this particular auction, we had guys like Mark Sanchez. Matt Moore is a common guy I'm not seeing drafted across the boards in our latest standard, PPR, and even our auctions. He's a guy that's just not even coming up on the boards. There's a guy, as far as quarterbacks, I think you get very cheap. And obviously, because he's not being really drafted at this point in the game, I think he will go up a little bit more as we get into August. But he's a guy you can get very cheap as a nice depth player for your team this year. I think he will have a decent season overall. Remember, he had a very strong December last year, and I think that success will continue. He even did that without both of his tackles, and he's got two solid tackles on the bookends, and he did that without them even being around. So keep that in mind about that particular player. The highest guy was Drew Brees in this one. It was $54. That was very early in the auction. That was a ridiculous price when you compare that. The next two was Peyton Manning, $37. Aaron Rodgers only went for $36. And so I just don't see where the value is for a guy like Drew Brees to be 54 and maybe an Aaron Rodgers 36. I don't think the gap is obviously that wide if Aaron isn't a better fantasy quarterback to begin with. So, keep that in mind. Even in a $200 cap, it's really hard. I think at the most low $40 is really what you should be spending for even the top end guy, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to throw the ball in the NFL right now. And even look at guys like Kevin Kolb, $9. Eli Manning went for $7. And even this one, because this draft was, there was so much aggressiveness, which you do tend to see in early mock drafts. You do have maybe even, I know in this one there were a couple teams that were auto drafts that I did on this one, but there were a decent amount of present people there. There tends to be a lot of aggressiveness. In August, we tend to see things kind of chill out a little bit more, especially once you get to your draft. But a guy like Donovan McNabb only went for $4. That's a big mistake. I mean, he was put up there later on in the auction, but that's a guy that's definitely going to get a little bit more value. I would expect at least around $10 for a guy like that. But if you can sneak a player, that's the idea of an auction. If you are getting into an auction and there's a lot of aggressive people and you budget yourself well, you can really pick up some good value players for really cheap. And once again, we just want to let you know that if you're listening to this out there on the internet, maybe on YouTube for a video, we've got this, what we're talking about here, available for you. There's a link. It should be a link at the bottom of where this video is at, right underneath the text. And you can click on that link. You can go over and you can download this information that we're talking about. You can print it out for yourself to use at your draft. We have that available for you. And if you're also listening to this on a podcast, maybe like Podbean, Media, any one of those, Blueberry, any of those type of places, that should also be incorporated. There should be an article with this as well, and there should be some type of link there for you to get back to the specific page that we're talking about for this cheat sheet or mock draft that we happen to be talking to you about right now. Good luck this season, and we hope that this information helps you have success.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy football with your